The madness is almost here, guys. We got the NCAA tournament, March Madness, starting tomorrow. You had the first 4 games on yesterday, 2 of them actually. You had Alabama State defeating St. Francis 70-68 to punch their ticket. First time in program's history out of 5 tries. They're going to an NCAA tournament. And then you got North Carolina absolutely dominating San Diego State 95-68. It was let's be honest, it was an ass beating by the North Carolina Tar Heels. So they punched their ticket to the March Madness tournament. And then now today you got American University going up against Mount St. Mary's, and then you got Texas going up against Xavier. And then tomorrow we will have the first round of 64. All 64 teams will be playing tomorrow for the start of March Madness. So the madness is almost here. We got the number 1 seeds locked in. Auburn in the South region, Florida in the West, Duke in the East, and then Houston in the Midwest. So we got to talk about Auburn. So Auburn, coached by Bruce Pearl. He's been around for ages. This is his 10th season already with the Auburn Tigers. He was hired in 2014. He's been coaching them ever since. I remember when he coached Tennessee, and I was a kid and teenager. So yeah, it's been a really long time since this guy's been a head coach in college basketball. But already his 10th season as the Auburn Tigers head coach. But we got to talk about these Auburn Tigers a little bit, because they lost 3 out of the 4 games coming into the tournament. So as a number 1 seed, that's god-awful. You can't do that. You got to show your dominance. You got to prove that you're one of the best teams in the country. But losing 3 out of the 4 coming into March Madness, that's not good. So you have that going on. But they have a 15-3 record in the SEC Conference, 28-5 record overall. They're led by Johnny Broome, senior all-star. He leads the team in multiple categories. He leads the team in points with 18.9 points per game, rebounds 10.6, assists 3.1, and blocks 2.3. He was named the SEC Player of the Year by the coaches and AP pools, and that's according to SportsIllustrated.com. But then Auburn as a team, their basketball team, they've only won 2 NCAA tournament games since reaching the Final Four in 2019, 6 years ago. So they've only won 2 games since then. That's god-awful, especially if you're in the number 1 seed. So they got to clean that up. Bruce Pearl's got to get that team ready. Everyone's got to contribute. Johnny Broome can only do so much. We need, you have to have support. You have to have a supporting cast to win these games. But out of all the number 1 seeds, Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Houston, Auburn, I believe, is the team that needs to prove themselves the most. Like I said, 3 out of the 4 games you lose coming into this tournament. You didn't do well in the SEC tournament. That was won by Florida. That's their 5th in their program's history. You got to show up. And then, they won the regular season SEC championship. They're 5th in program's history, but it doesn't matter. See, the thing about March Madness is that whatever happened in the postseason or the regular season, it doesn't matter. You have to come into March Madness thinking it's the start of a whole new season, 0-0. No championship wins, no top 30 wins on the road or at home. It doesn't matter. It's a blank slate. You start over, and that's why you have a lot of these upsets happening in the first round. And that's the beauty of March Madness, because anything can happen. That's why I love it so much, because you hear the underdog story. A lot of these underdog stories go far in the playoffs. Prime example, 2006, George Mason went to the Final Four as a huge underdog. Unfortunately, they lost. But, stories like that. Anything can happen. Obviously, Butler, so many years ago, went to the championship game, almost knocked off Duke, the juggernaut. The high and mighty Duke, one of the best basketball programs of all time, almost beat them. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Butler, who's Butler, right? Exactly. So March Madness, best time of the year. I'll be honest, this is really the only time the Bryce watches college basketball, because anything can happen. Anything can happen. So you have that going on. But we got to talk about Johnny Broome. This guy is amazing. 6-year senior. He's all over the place. Obviously the MVP of this team. And then he has an NIL deal, because we got to talk about NIL deals for a little bit, right? Because it's a huge part of college basketball, or not just college basketball, but college sports. And I'm sure I've given my opinion about NIL deal. I'm not a big fan of it. We'll get to that at another time, but it's a huge deal in college sports today, because it's all about branding and money. So he has an NIL deal with C4 energy drinks, right? C.J. Stroud and Bijan Robinson, NFL superstars, have endorsements with C4 Energy. So this guy is all over the place. But I want to see how he does in this tournament. They go up against Alabama State. We'll get to them in a couple seconds, but, not a good look for Auburn. I mean, they were the number one team for most of the season. Like, for 90% of the season, they were the number one team in the country, and then they fell off for some reason. Injuries, just they weren't playing well. So losing 3 out of 4 coming to this tournament, you're the number one seed. You have to prove yourself. And then you're going up against an Alabama State team who punched their ticket last night off a game-winning layup. So Alabama State, we'll get into them right now. Alabama State, the Hornets, led by Tony Madlock, his 3rd season as the head coach. So we got to talk about that game last night against St. Francis. So Amar Knox scored the game winner, punching their ticket to the March Madness NCAA men's basketball tournament. It's the program's first NCAA tournament win out of 5th try. So congratulations to them. They absolutely deserve it. And then they're from the Southwestern Athletic Conference. They have a 12-6 conference record, a 20-15 record overall. They still made it into the NCAA tournament, so good for them. And they've won 7 straight games coming into the tournament. March 11th, the last time they lost was in February, so over a month ago. And the winning streak for them started earlier this month, March 1st. So yeah, winning 7 straight for the Alabama State Hornets. That's absolutely phenomenal. So we got to go back into this game last night against St. Francis. So once again, Alabama State wins 70-68 against St. Francis. The game was tied at 11 seconds. T.J. Madlock for the Hornets, he missed a crucial free throw. But then the Hornets forced a turnover with 2 seconds left, guys. 2 seconds left. So they attempted a full court pass. They completed it to Amar Knox, and he did a layup and got the win, 70-68. Bye-bye, St. Francis. Come on in, Alabama State. It was awesome. But now we got to talk about the statistics. So they shot 59% in the first half, Alabama State did. And then St. Francis shot 64% in the first 13 minutes of this game. I mean, they couldn't miss. These guys could not miss. But what kept Alabama State Hornets in the game was they were shooting 5 for 11 through the three-point range. That's what kept them in the game. I mean, if they weren't shooting that well from the three-point range, we don't see Alabama State coming to the March Madness tournament. We see St. Francis instead. So a great win by Alabama State, their first tournament win in program history, 5 tries. So good for them. And this is all according to the Montgomery Advertiser, by the way. But now we got to talk about some of these players. So C.J. Hines, senior, leads the team with 14.4 points per game. And then you got T.J. Madlock, senior, leads the team with 7.2 rebounds, 2.6 assists. In their last loss, the Alabama State Hornets, the last time they lost was February 24th when they lost to the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. They lost to them 70-68. So unbelievable, this Alabama State team. But yeah, they're a 16 seed. Number 1 seed at Auburn. It can happen. It happens. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. We've seen it. I've seen it in my lifetime. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but as a team, their 3-point percentage, .330%, field goal percentage, .405, free throw percentage, .692%, rebounds per game, 36.2 rebounds, turnovers per game, 9.1. Their opponents are turning the ball over 13 times a game. So I don't know, man. I mean, Auburn, I got Auburn, I play two brackets here. I got one here and I got one here, all for fun. As I mentioned on the last episode of Guys Time, I was going to play for money. I was going to fill one out, or maybe 2, as you saw, for fun. But I'm looking at this right now and I'm doing the statistics, and I'm just like, I don't know, Alabama State could pull off the upset. You never know. You just never know. And that's the beauty of March Madness. Whatever you did in the regular season, whatever you did in your conference tournaments, it doesn't matter. March Madness is a new season. That's the mindset you got to have. It's 0-0. It's a brand new season. Anything can happen. Cinderella stories, upsets. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So Alabama State and Auburn going at it. I don't know. I mean, Auburn, like I said, been struggling coming into this tournament. Alabama State, I get it, a smaller market, maybe doesn't have the competition like the SEC, which, by the way, has 14 teams in this tournament, which is a record. in college basketball history. But anything can happen, dude. So I'm really excited about this one. Obviously, tomorrow you got the first game, Louisville and Creighton, at 12:15 p.m. on CBS. So that's going to be a really interesting one. I'm actually excited about that game. But yeah, Auburn, you got to prove yourself, man. You got Alabama State right up your coattails. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, but it's going to be an exciting game. So you got that going on. That's the first number 1 seed we got to talk about. But then we got to talk about Florida. Historically has had a good basketball program. Obviously, football, they were great many years ago. Now they're on the steep decline a little bit. But basketball, they won back-to-back state and national championships back in 2006 and 2007 under Billy Donovan. I do believe Joakim Noah was on that team. Obviously, former NBA star. But yeah, they've always had a decent basketball program. So number 1, Florida. Number 1, Florida in the West Conference, or in the West bracket, whatever you want to call it. Coached by Todd Golden, 39 years old, one of the youngest head coaches in this tournament. He's been the coach since 2022, his 3rd season as the head coach for the Florida Gators. They have the 14-4 conference record, 30-4 overall. They've been a top 5 team for most of this season. And then in some of these, led by some of these players, Walter Clayton Jr., senior guard, 6'3", 195 pounds. He leads the team in points, 17.5 points there. And assists, 4.3 assists per game. And then Alex Condon, sophomore forward, 6'11", 230 pounds. That's a big boy, man. That is a big dude. He leads the team in rebounds, 7.9 rebounds, blocks, 1.4. So yeah, that is a lot of that's a lot of man to cover. So whoever has to cover that guy. Who are they playing? Norfolk State. We'll get into them a little bit, but yeah, Norfolk State playing Florida, number 16 against the number 1, another 16 seed over 1. So whoever on Norfolk State that has to cover Alex Condon, good luck, because 6'11", 230 pounds, dude, that's a big guy. That is a big dude. So you have that going on. Their field goal percentage, .473. Free throw percentage, .718. That might help them. Free throws are definitely a key part in this game, so that might help them out against Norfolk State. They average 42 rebounds per game. I mean, how can you not, right? When you have a big dude like Alex Condon right there just grabbing the ball. I mean, that's unbelievable. 3-point percentage, .355. Turnovers per game, 10.6. So ball security, not the greatest for Florida. That might hurt them in the tournament. But their opponents are turning the ball over on average 12 times a game. So good defense. Ball security, questions there, but they're rebounding. I mean, unbelievable. Like I said, Alex Condon, 6'11", 230 pounds. That guy is a monster. So, they're the SEC tournament champions, as I mentioned earlier when talking about Auburn. So, they're looking good coming into this tournament. The Florida Gators are, but like I said, anything can happen. Now we got to talk about Norfolk State, number 16 ranked Norfolk State, coached by Robert Jones, his 10th season as the head coach for Norfolk State. He's been there since 2007 as an assistant interim head coach, so he's been there for almost 20 years. Robert Jones has. Yeah, the Norfolk State Spartans, obviously Norfolk State located in Virginia, but yeah, his 10th season as the head coach. 11-3 conference record, 24-10 overall. They come into the NCAA tournament with a 4-game winning streak, led by senior guard Brian Moore Jr. He leads the team with 18.4 points per game. Jalen Myers, another senior forward, 5.4 rebounds, 6'8", 200 pounds. That might be the guy who's guarding Alex Condon. So good luck to him. That's going to be a great matchup there. But another big dude leads the team with rebounds. Christian Eanes, senior guard, leads the team with 3.2 assists. Jelani Darden, senior guard, 1.4 steals. Khalil Maddening, senior forward, leads the team with 1.3 blocks. So there's a lot of stars on this team, and then that might hurt Florida. I mean, I get 16 seeds being number 1 seeds rarely happens, but it is March Madness. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. So field goal percentage for the Norfolk State Spartans. 12.4 or the field goal percentage for the Norfolk State Spartans, .489, 3-point percentage, .331, rebounds per game. They're averaging almost 35 rebounds a game, so that could definitely help them out coming into this matchup with Florida. Turnovers per game, 12.4, and their opponents are turning the ball over 13 times a game. So this might be a defensive matchup. I mean, reading the stats for both teams, the Florida Gators and the Norfolk State Spartans, anything can happen. And like I said, I think this is a defensive matchup. I think we're going to see a lot of steals, a lot of rebounds, maybe a handful of turnovers, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So talking about the 16 seeds and number 1 seeds, right? I said we were going to get to that. Here we are. So from 1985, that's when the NCAA tournament expanded to 64 teams. I wasn't even born yet. So from 1985 to 2017, so over 30 years, 32 years, the 16 seeds, their record in this tournament was 0-135 in the first round. 0-135 in the first round for 16 seeds for 32 years, 1985 to 2017. And now, obviously, as I mentioned, 1985 was the year when they expanded to 64 teams. But then in 2018, all that changed. And I remember this game. I'm sure a lot of you do as well. 2018, the game changed. Everything changed that day when the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC, defeated the number 1 ranked Virginia team 74-54. Yeah, I remember that game because I believe I picked Virginia, just like the rest of the country would, because they're Virginia. They're the number 1 team in the country. They were really good that year. They lost by 20 to a 16th-ranked UMBC, University of Maryland of Baltimore County. Who the hell is that team? Exactly. Well, we all know who they are now because as a 16 team, they knocked off the number 1 ranked Virginia team 74-54 that season, the 2018 season. I remember that like it was yesterday. It was absolutely phenomenal. Many brackets were broken. Let's be honest, right? Mine was done because I think I had Virginia going to the Elite 8 or Final 4. So I'm just like, yeah, rip that up. It's over. But yeah, UMBC defeating number 1 ranked Virginia 74-54 in 2018 in the first round. That was the first time in over 30 years we saw a 16 seed be a number 1 seed. So you had that. And you think that was the only time a 16 seed be a number 1 seed, right? Wrong. 2023, 5 years later, you had Fairleigh Dickinson. Yeah, who's Fairleigh Dickinson? Who? Huh? Who? What are you talking about? Yeah, Fairleigh Dickinson. New Jersey private school beat number 1 Purdue in the first round, 63-58. I remember that game as well because I think I had Purdue going far in that year's March Madness tournament. So brackets were broken once again. It's unbelievable. But yeah, those were the 2 times in college men's basketball history where a number 16 seed beat a number 1 seed in the first round of the NCAA tournament. But yeah, before that, for 32 years, 16 seeds were 0-135 in the first round. So, and then the tournament expanded in 1985 to 64 teams. So, does it happen? No. I mean, look at the record. 0-135 before, and now we've had 2 16 seeds beat number 1 seeds. So now the record's 2-135. So does it happen? Yes. Can it happen? Absolutely. Does it happen often? No. But Norfolk State, don't sleep on them. This is a good team. And 4-game winning streak. Keep it rolling. I'm excited about that one. So Norfolk State, Florida, the number 1 seed in the West. And that's the second number 1 seed we talk about. But now we got to talk about, my opinion, the team to beat in March Madness, the Duke Blue Devils. Obviously, this is an iconic college basketball school, one of the best college basketball schools of all time. Mike Krzyzewski was the coach for over 40 years. He's been retired for a few years now. Jon Scheyer, his 3rd year as the head coach. He's been the head coach since 2022. And it's crazy because he's been on the team in the coaching role since 2014. But he also played for the Duke Blue Devils. And he was actually on that 2010 national championship team. See, I told you we were going to talk about that. Versus Butler. Butler, Cinderella story, all the way to the championship game. You faced the high and mighty Blue Devils. They lost that year 61-59. All of you remember, I remember watching it live. It was it was insane watching this game. Gordon Hayward missed that half-court shot, and if he made it, history would have changed. It would have been one of the greatest national championship games of all time. It would have been one of the greatest basketball games of all time if he made that shot. I mean, it was still a great game, 61-59. I mean, to score 59 points against the Blue Devils when you're the Butler Bulldogs. I mean, come on now. That was crazy. Yeah, 2010 national champion for Jon Scheyer. So he's been a player. He's been a coach. He's been the head coach now for 3 years, his third season. But yeah, that was one of the greatest moments ever in all sports. So you had that. And then coming into this tournament, this is the 15th time that the Duke Blue Devils, are the number 1 seed. So 15 times they've shared the number 1 seed spot. Good for them. But this is the team to beat, my opinion. I mean, Duke is phenomenal. I mean, Cooper Flagg, this freshman has been lights out. He leads the team in all categories: points, rebounds, assists, steals. This guy's amazing. But he's also been injured. He had a left ankle injury in the ACC quarterfinals against Georgia Tech, last week. He missed the last 2 games in that tournament. And then head-to-head, he's battling with Johnny Broome from Auburn for the National Player of the Year. But, dude, as a freshman, this guy is unbelievable. I mean, he's a big dude as well. So you got Johnny Broome and Cooper Flagg going head-to-head for the National Player of the Year. We'll see what happens. I mean, whoever shows up in this tournament is winning that award, Johnny Broome or Cooper Flagg. And Coach Jon Scheyer does not know if he's going to be available by Friday, because that's when Duke plays their first-round game against whoever wins American University or Mount St. Mary's later tonight. But Duke comes in to this tournament with an 11-game winning streak. So they are the season and tournament ACC tournament champs, 5 national champions in their program's history. Cooper Flagg is a freshman forward, 6'9", 205 pounds. This guy is a beast. He is a monster. He is an absolute tank. Flagg, he leads all major categories, as I mentioned before. Points with 18.9 points per game, rebounds 7.5, assists 4.1, steals 1.5, blocks 1.2. It's the Cooper Flagg show. This guy, as a freshman, is dominating college basketball. It helps when you're 6'9" and 205 pounds. Who the hell's going to guard that? That's a brick wall, dude. I mean, we're going to see some monsters in this tournament. We always do. It's basketball. I mean, if you're not at least 6'7", you can't play the game. I'm only kidding. I mean, Steph Curry's 6'3", and he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But we're going to see some monsters in this tournament. Cooper Flagg, probably the most famous one, because as a freshman, dominating college basketball. So as a team, for the Duke Blue Devils, they're scoring 82.7 points per game. So they like to score. They score a lot. I mean, you've seen it all season if you've been following Duke basketball. But 82.7 points per game, field goal percentage .488, 3-point percentage .377, rebounds per game 38.6. So they rebound the ball a lot. Like I said, how can you not, right? When you have a 6'9" freshman who dominates college basketball, who's dominating the floor, wiping the floor of every other college basketball player. So that absolutely makes sense with the rebounds. Turnovers per game, 9.6. So they protect the ball pretty good. That's not too bad. But then their opponents are giving up the ball almost 12 times a game. So Duke, historically, they have shooters. They have big guys. I mean, another big guy that comes to mind for me, Cooper Flagg, obviously the freshman, been dominating college basketball all season long. But Zion Williamson many years ago, another big dude who dominated college basketball. But they like to protect the ball, have the big guys. They like their shooters, as you can see, 82.7 points per game. And then they create a lot of turnovers. So the Duke Sun Devils, or the Blue Devils, Sun Devils. I'm thinking of Arizona State, sorry. But the Duke Blue Devils, these guys are the team to beat. Obviously, they're my favorite to win the whole tournament, my opinion. I see Duke going all the way to the bank, winning the national championship. It'll be the 6th one in program history, and first one under Coach Jon Scheyer. And I think, would he be, he won one as a player, and then he would win one as a coach. Very few have done it. But Duke, I don't know, man. Like I look at this bracket on the east side, the east bracket, I guess you can say, and you got Oregon, Liberty, you got VCU in there, Wisconsin, Alabama. I mean, it's really not. I mean, all those teams are good. Don't get me wrong. Why else would they be in a March Madness tournament, right? I mean, they're all there for a reason, right? But it's just like out of all the brackets, of all the regions, I guess you can call them, the East region, not really the strongest. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at these. I could say maybe the West might be the toughest because you got St. John's in there. You got Drake, who, don't sleep on Drake. Don't sleep on Drake, man. They're pretty good. You got Maryland in there. You got Connecticut, the defending national champions, back-to-back champions, as I mentioned in a couple episodes past. You got Florida, number 1 seed. So the West is pretty tough. But the East, not so much. I mean, I think Duke, if they play their cards right, if Cooper Flagg is available, if he's healthy to play, dude, they can go all the way to the bank. So I have Duke, as you guys can probably tell by how I'm talking. I got Duke winning the whole thing on one of my brackets. The other bracket, I have St. John's winning. So, but who knows? Anything can happen. But I like Duke. I think they're the number 1 favorite, deserving of the number 1 seed. 15th time in their program's history, they're the number 1 seed. Cooper Flagg, absolutely phenomenal. We'll see if he's available Friday. So you have the Duke Blue Devils. We'll see what happens with them. Now we got to talk about the final number 1 seed coming into this tournament, the Houston Cougars, led by Kelvin Sampson. His 10th year. He's already been there for a decade, guys. His 10th year as the head coach. He used to coach the Houston Rockets for a few years. But yeah, Kelvin Sampson leads his team once again. 19-1 conference record in the Big 12. 30-4 record overall. Coming into this tournament, they have a 13-game winning streak. So a lot of winning streaks coming into March Madness for a lot of teams. They're the Big 12 tournament champions, and they're led by L.J. Cryer, senior guard, leads the team with 15.2 points. You got Jawan Roberts, senior forward, 6.3 rebounds, 6 foot 8 inches, 235 pounds. How the hell are you going to block that guy? I mean, whoever has to go up against him. Let's see, who do they play? So they play SIU Edwardsville. We'll get to them in a little bit. But whoever has to block that guy, whoever has to block Jawan Roberts, 6'8", 235 pounds, good luck. God bless you. I hope you don't get hurt because that is a big, big human being. So you have him. Milos Uzan, junior guard, leads the team with 4.3 assists. And then stats. They're scoring 74.2 points per game. Field goal percentage, .458. 3-point percentage, 0.398. 36.2 rebounds a game, so they like to rebound the ball a lot. Turnovers, 9.3 turnovers a game. Their opponents are giving up the ball almost 14 times a game. So a very defensive-minded team. They like to get the ball. They like to get the rebounds. And they're scoring a lot of points. So this is definitely a good basketball team, the Houston Cougars, led by Kelvin Sampson. But yeah, they play SIU Edwardsville, and we'll get to them actually right now. I see them on my sheet of paper here. But yeah, we have to talk about the teams that these number 1 seeds are going to face, right? We got to give credit where credit's due, right? We can't just talk about the big schools. We got to talk about the little schools who might creep up and might ruin the number 1 seed's chances of winning a national championship. So we'll talk about SIU Edwardsville, coached by Brian Barone, his 6th year as the head coach. He started being the head coach in 2019. He was an assistant back in 2017. So he's been there for, in the coaching capacity for almost 10 years. So good for him. 13-7 conference record in the Ohio Valley Conference. 22-11 overall. 2nd place in the Ohio Valley Conference. So good enough to make it to the tournament. They got to play Houston. Tough battle for them. But like I said, anything can happen. The 16 seed versus 1 seed. It's only happened twice. 16 seed has been a 1 seed in the men's college basketball tournament. It can happen again. And obviously this is a team from Southern Illinois led by Rayshawn Taylor. Senior guard, leads the team with 19.3 points, 3.8 assists, 2 steals. So he leads in multiple categories. He is the main guy. You got to watch out for him in this matchup. And then they have a player on this team. I mean, I had to check this like 5 times just to make sure I wasn't seeing things. They have a player on this team named Rain, like Lord of the Rings, championship Rain. Yeah, that's his first name. Rain Malith. Or Rain Malith. Junior forward, 6'9", 180 pounds. So he's a big, lanky dude. He has 11.5 points per game, which is good for second on the team. So Rain Malith. Yeah, that is a name that you're never going to forget, right? I mean, we'll see what he can do, what this team can do against Houston. But yeah, Rain Malith. If they don't win, SIU Edwardsville, if they can't get past Houston, you will always remember Rain Malith. Hell of a name, big dude, 6'9", 180 pounds, second in the team with 11.5 points per game, right behind Rashawn Taylor, their star player. But I mean, this is great. I mean, this is absolutely insane. So you have that going on. So statistics for the SIU Edwardsville team. Rebounds per game, 72.6. So good. They're a good rebounding team for Ohio Valley, for the Ohio Valley Conference. Field goal percentage, .434. 3-point percentage, .341. Excuse me. Rebounds per game, 38.5. So almost 39 times they're rebounding. They're rebounding in the game. Turnovers, 11.4. So ball security not the greatest for this SIU Edwardsville team. And their opponents only give up the ball almost 13 times. So ball security is definitely going to be a challenge, in my opinion, for SIU Edwardsville. They're going up against Houston, who doesn't turn the ball a whole lot. And they force a lot of turnovers. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, it's March Madness. Anything can happen. So that is the final number 1 seed Houston that we talk about and their opponent. But now we got to talk about both Michigan teams, right? I mean, we got to talk about Michigan, Dusty May, his first season as the head coach. 14-6 conference record, 25-9 overall. He came from Florida Atlantic. He spent 6 years there, 2018 all the way to 2024. Beat Wisconsin to become the Big Ten tournament champions. Their first since 2018, so it's been 7 years since they won the Big Ten tournament champions, Michigan Wolverines. And this was also crazy. I read this the other day. It's the first Big Ten. Dusty May became the first Big Ten head coach in history, in conference history, to win the Big Ten tournament title in their first season as the head coach. So good for him. Dusty May, congratulations. But now we got to talk about how did he get to this point? How did Michigan get to the March Madness as a 5th seed? And that, that's created a lot of controversy. It is what it is. Just be glad that they're in, Michigan fans. I mean, I get it. They're going up against UC San Diego. We'll talk about them in a little bit because I checked this out today. Michigan's only a 2.5-point favorite against UC San Diego. 2.5-point favorite. Yeah, that's very concerning if you're a Michigan Wolverines basketball fan. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but just be happy that the Michigan Wolverines are in the NCAA tournament. They're in March Madness. So, but how did they get here? Well, they lost 3 in a row to end the regular season. One of those losses was against their rival, Michigan State, who's also in the tournament, obviously. They lost to them 79-62. They got their asses kicked. But then they won 3 in a row headed into the tournament. I mean, the Big Ten tournament, they won. And they beat Wisconsin, as I mentioned, to become the Big Ten tournament champions. Michigan State, obviously, the Big Ten regular season champions. We'll get to them in a little bit, but they're here. And compared to last season, the 2023 season, I mean, all Michigan basketball fans, I think we can forget about last season. Juwan Howard just did not get the job done. Former Michigan basketball player, he just lost his team. He lost confidence. They weren't responding to him, and it showed. Worst finish in program history for the Michigan Wolverines. 8-24 record overall. 3-17 in the Big Ten. That's god-awful. That's trash. That is absolutely unacceptable for Michigan Wolverines basketball. I mean, let's just forget about it, right? But we have to mention it because a complete turnaround, it looks like. One of the worst teams in college basketball last year. Worst finish in Big Ten history for the Michigan Wolverines. 8-24 record. That's disgusting. 3-17 in the Big Ten. I mean, you might as well just get out of the conference after that. That's disgusting. And now the turnaround. Dusty May comes in. His first season. Big Ten tournament champions. First year head coach has won the Big Ten tournament championship in Big Ten history. And now they're in the March Madness tournament. we'll see what happens. But like I said, they have a tough battle against UC San Diego. Yeah, who's UC San Diego? We'll get to them in a little bit, but 2.5-point favorite, not a whole lot of confidence when all these other teams have, 10-point favorites, 25.5-point favorites. No, Michigan's only a 2.5-point favorite against UC San Diego. We'll talk about them in a little bit, but yeah, that does not give me a lot of confidence for the Michigan Wolverines. But now we got to talk about the star players, right, of this Michigan Wolverines team. So, Vladislav Goldin. Excuse me. Yeah, Vladislav Goldin, or Vladdy they call him. But yeah, I'll be professional. I'll call him by his first name. Vladislav Goldin, senior center, 7 foot 1 inch. He's a 7-footer. This guy's a giant, 250 pounds. I've mentioned a few times in this episode so far a bunch of brick walls. That's a brick wall times 10. 7 foot 1 inch, 250 pounds. How are you going to defend that, man? Dude, that is a beast. He's from Russia. He leads the team in points, 16.7 points per game, and blocks, 1.4 blocks. Well, of course, the guy's 7 feet tall. I mean, if he's not blocking the damn ball, he's not doing his job. I mean, there's something wrong with him. But yeah, Vladislav Goldin, senior. This guy is unbelievable, a giant. But he's joined by another 7-footer, Danny Wolf, Jr., center, 7 feet, 250 pounds. So you got 2 7-footers who are 250 pounds. How the hell are you going to defend these guys? He leads the team in rebounds with 9.8. He's second in points with 13.1 points. And then you got Trey Donaldson, who scored the game winner against Maryland to send them to the finals against Wisconsin in the Big Ten tournament. Yeah, that was great. Like 0.4 seconds left. He just ran across the whole court and he did a layup with 0.4 seconds left. Sent him to the finals of the Big Ten tournament. Beat Wisconsin to become the Big Ten tournament champions. First one since 2018. But yeah, Trey Donaldson, that was the gentleman who was able to do that for us. Junior guard, leads the team with assists, 4.2, steals, 1.1, and then he's third in scoring, 11.6 points per game. So this is a team, they like their scoring, they like their rebounds, they like their big guys. You got 2 7-footers here. You got Vladislav Goldin and you got Danny Wolf, 2 7-footers and 250 pounds both. I mean, that is a machine right there. And then you got Trey Donaldson, an elite scorer. So I was going to say, these guys, their names are going to be called multiple times. But like I said, they're going up against a big matchup, a tough test. And UC San Diego. And UC San Diego is the 12th seed. But 12 seeds against 5th seeds. It can happen. So we'll get to that stat in a little bit. But the points per game for the Michigan Wolverines, 78.3. So they like to score a lot. Field goal percentage, 0.474. 3-point percentage, 0.334. Rebounds per game, 38.2. Not surprising, right? It should be more. I mean, you got 2 7-footers on the court. I mean, they should be rebounding more. But 38, not bad, but not surprising. You got 2 7-foot guys, 250 pounds of muscle and built like a brick wall, doing all the work there. Turnovers per game, 14.1. So ball security, not the greatest for this Michigan Wolverines team. Their opponents are only giving up the ball. Only turning the ball over, only 11 times, about 11 times. So not the greatest for the turnover margin for Michigan. They got to clean that up. Like I said, to win the Big Ten tournament championship coming into March Madness, that's a great sign for Michigan, but you got to defend the den, right? You got to come into this tournament and be ready, because UC San Diego, they're not going to just let you walk all over them. They're going to fight, and they're a good team. Yeah, they're a no-name school, right? You're Michigan. You're a Big Ten team. You're one of the most iconic programs in college sports history. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter if you won the Big Ten tournament championship. I don't care what your record was in the Big Ten. Everything starts over once March Madness begins tomorrow. So Michigan, get ready. It's gonna be a wild ride for you guys. So now we gotta talk about talking about UC San Diego, let's talk about them real quick. So UC San Diego, University of California, San Diego, full name, the Tritons, that's their mascot, led by Eric Olson, his 11th year as the head coach for that program. Since 2004, he's been an assistant for this program. 2004 to 2013, he was an assistant for the UC San Diego Tritons, but he's been the head coach for this program since 2013. So his 11th year at the helm, 18-2 conference record, 30-4 overall. They're the first in the Big West Conference. They come into this game with a 15-game winning streak, guys. I mean, they're great. They're absolutely phenomenal. And now the star player on their team, if I butchered his name, I'm sorry. I went through it multiple times before the episode started, and I went through his name, pronounced his name many times. But if I butcher it, please excuse me. So, Aniwa. Is that Aniwa? Yeah, Aniwa Tate Jones. So, Aniwa Tate Jones. That's how they pronounce his name. Yeah, I know that's a tongue twister, right? Try saying that 5 times. So, Aniwa Tate Jones, senior guard, 6'6", 200 pounds. He leads the team in most of these categories. Points, 19.5. Rebounds, 5.5. 3.7 assists. That's their main guy. He's a big dude, 6'6". Get one of those 7-footers on him. Get Vladislav Golden on him or Danny Wolf. Get one of those guys on him, and maybe we can beat these guys. Maybe we'll have a chance. But Aniwa Tate Jones, absolutely phenomenal. He is the UC San Diego Tritons' main player. That's like I said, that's a hell of a name there. Like I said, try saying that 5 times, or try saying that when you're drunk. But anyways, you shut down that guy. If you're in the Michigan Wolverines, you're good. But now we got to go through the stats for this UC San Diego team. Points per game, 79 points, so they score a lot, so good for them. Field goal percentage, .466, 3-point percentage, .366. Rebounds per game, almost 34 times. They're averaging 34 rebounds a game. The opponents, 34, so very close. They like to get a lot of rebounds, but they, let the other team rebound a lot as well. Turnovers per game, 8.7, so that's really good. I think that's one of the best that I've listed so far, that I've mentioned so far of all these teams. 8.7 turnovers a game, that's great. But then the opponents are giving up the ball 16 times. And I mentioned, what I say about Michigan, they're turning the ball over at least 14 times a game. That turnover battle might bite them in the ass coming into this game against UC San Diego. So, they like to give the ball. They like to have their opponents give up the ball a lot. I mean, they're forcing turnovers, at least 6, their opponents giving up the ball 16 times, according to the statistics for UC San Diego. So, Michigan, you got to protect that ball, and you got to stop Aniwa Tate Jones. Yeah, see, now I can say it normally. So, you got to stop that guy, and you got to protect the ball if you're the Michigan Wolverines. So, you have that. And now, the final team for Michigan, the MSU Spartans, coached by Tom Izzo. His 29th season as the head coach for the Michigan State Spartans. He was an assistant there from 1983 to 95, and then he's been the head coach since 95. So almost 30 years as the head coach. He's been there for over 40 years of his life. One of the most iconic head coaches of all time, and this is a Michigan fan talking, as I mentioned numerous times on the podcast. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time. You got to give credit where credit's due. That guy's amazing. Michigan State Spartans, Big Ten regular season champs. They're first since the COVID year, 2020. Yeah, I know it's sad that we got to mention 2020 as the COVID year, but the first one since 2020 for the Michigan State Spartans. Big Ten regular season champs. They're his 11th in program history, and he's tied with the most Big Ten regular season championships in Big Ten history. Bob Knight with Indiana has 11, and Ward Lambert with Purdue has 11 as well. So good for Tom Izzo, his 11th Big Ten regular season championship under his belt, 11 times, tied with 2 of the greatest coaches of all time, Bob Knight and Ward Lambert. It's good for him. But now under his belt as well, 8 Final Fours, 1 championship back in the year 2000. 25 years since the last time the Michigan State Spartans won the national championship. he's on a mission. I mean, Tom Izzo's not getting any younger. He's 70 years old. He's been coaching Michigan State for almost 30 years. He wants that championship. So watch out for Michigan State. They're in a kind of a tough conference or in a tough region, the South region. Like I said, you got Michigan, you got Auburn in there. Mississippi could make a run. North Carolina maybe. They got in last night. They could make a run. I'm looking at these other teams here. Marquette. Bryant might give Michigan State a hard time, maybe. UC San Diego, Michigan. I don't know. Creighton, Louisville. Yeah, Auburn, as I mentioned. But he's on a mission to win the national championship. Tom Izzo is. And that team, too. That team is great. So you have that. And then, how did they get here, Michigan State? So they lost to the Wisconsin 77-74 in the Big Ten tournament semifinal. So not a great way to end the season, but hey, you're the regular season champion, so good for you. But yeah, 8 Final Fours, 1 championship under Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He got inducted in 2016, so almost 10 years ago. 17-3 conference record for Michigan State and Tom Izzo. 27-6 overall, so one of the best teams in the country. They were a top 10 team for most of the season, Michigan State was. And they're led by Jaden Atkins, senior guard from Farmington, Michigan. So right here in our backyard here in Michigan. He leads the team with 12.7 points. Jackson Kohler, junior forward, 6'9", 245 pounds. God, that's a big dude there. Leads the team with 7.6 rebounds. Jeremy Fears, junior, freshman guard, leads the team with 5.5 assists. Chase Richardson, another freshman guard, leads the team, or second in points with 12 points for the team. And then Trey Holloman, a junior guard, leads the team, or third in points with 9 points, averaging 9 points per game. So you have that. So a lot of shooters. So, and I'm watching Michigan State basketball for quite some time now. Tom Izzo likes his defense. He likes his shooters. You got him. He likes his big guys. You got him in Jackson Kohler. 6'9", 245 pounds of him. All of him. You got shooters. You got Jaden Atkins leading the team in points. Chase Richardson, second in points. Trey Holloman, third in points for the team. So you have that going on. This is going to be interesting for Michigan State when they go up against the Bryant Bulldogs. We'll get to them in a couple minutes. But points per game for the Michigan State Spartans, excuse me, 78.2. So they score a lot. Like I said, Tom Izzo likes his shooters. Field goal percentage, 0.461%. Excuse me. 3-point percentage, 0.308. Rebounds per game, 39.8. So almost 40 rebounds a game for Michigan State. They like rebounding the ball. Their opponents, 30.8. So they win the rebound battle most of the time, this Michigan State Spartans team. Turnovers per game, 11.5. So some ball security issues there. But then their opponents are turning the ball over at 11.4 times on average. So ball security could be an issue for Michigan State throughout the tournament. You got the Bryant Bulldogs in the first round, and Michigan State as a 2 seed versus a 15 seed in the Bryant Bulldogs. So, yeah, I've said it numerous times. It's college basketball. It's March Madness. 0-0. You're starting over. It does not matter what you did in the regular season. It matters what you do now. And that's why we got to talk about the Bryant Bulldogs, coached by Phil Martelli Jr. That's a great Italian name. Hell yeah. I like seeing that. His second season as the head coach. He was an associate head coach from 2018 to 2023 for the Bryant Bulldogs, and he's been the head coach since 2023. So his second season at the helm. He's been with the program for a few years now. But yeah, he's amazing. This Bryant University, Bryant Bulldogs, located in Rhode Island. It's a private school. So yeah, you know how that goes, right? 14-2 conference record, 23-11 overall. They're first in the America East Conference. They come into this tournament with a 6-game winning streak. So, that's a great way to kind of scare Michigan State a little bit. But like I said, it doesn't matter. All those winning streaks. I mentioned with multiple teams, Duke, Houston, whatever. It doesn't matter what happens, in the regular season. It doesn't matter what you did to come here. I mean, you got a good enough record, and you probably won a conference tournament to get here. But it doesn't matter. It's 0-0. You start over. But 6-game winning streak for the Bryant Bulldogs, going up against a juggernaut in Michigan State, not bad. You got to take that. But now we got to talk about some of these players, right? Rafael Pinzan, senior guard from Puerto Rico, leads the team with 18.5 points, 18.5 points. Earl Timberlake, senior guard, 6'6", 220 pounds, big dude, leads the team with 8.2 rebounds. And he's second with points, averaging 15.5 points per game. And then he leads team in assists, 4.7 assists. And then you got Barry Evans, junior forward, 6'8", 215 pounds, another giant, another monster on this Bryant Bulldogs team. Leads the team, or third in points for this team, 3.5 points per game for Barry Evans there. And then as a team, points per game, 82.4. So they score a lot. I get it. They're in the America East Conference. What the hell is the American East Conference? I couldn't tell you. All I know is that the Bryant Bulldogs are in that conference. But they like to score. They like to score. 82.4 points per game. Field goal percentage, .460. 3-point percentage, .337. Rebounds per game, 41.5. So they rebound the ball a lot. Their opponents are only rebounding the ball 36 times. Turnovers per game, 12. And then the opponent is giving up the ball 12 as well. So ball security issues as well. We might see some issues on both sides, Michigan State and Bryant. So the keys for both teams, protect the damn ball. You got to protect the damn ball, dude. You give up those turnovers, that can cost you, especially in this tournament. I've seen where teams have multiple turnovers and they lose by 20. Or they give up a crucial turnover late in the game and they lose, on a last-second shot or whatever the case may be. You got to protect the damn ball if you're the Bryant Bulldogs or the Michigan State Spartans. You got to protect the ball. So that's going to be an exciting matchup. Another 2 seed versus 15 seed. It's going to be a good one there. So, yeah, Michigan State, number 2, Bryant, number 15 in the South region there. That's going to be exciting. So check that one out. But, yeah, March Madness. We're on the eve of March Madness, guys. We got 2 more games on tonight. The first 4 games. You got America University versus Mount St. Mary's tonight at 6:40 p.m., as I mentioned earlier in the podcast. And then Texas versus Xavier at 9:10 on True TV. Both of those games are going to be on True TV. And then we'll have the Field of 64. And then the first game tomorrow for March Madness. The madness begins tomorrow at 12:15. So get your brackets ready. Get the countdown clock ready to go, because 12:15, we're ready to roll with the Louisville Cardinals and Creighton. And that's going to be a really exciting game there. So I said earlier in the podcast I want to talk about the 12 seed versus 5th seed, because it just seems like, the 12-5 upsets. We see it many times in March Madness history. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. But the 12th seed beating the 5th seed, since 1985 when the tournament expanded to 64 teams, they have 55 wins. The 12th seed has 55 wins versus the 5th seed. And the last time we saw a 12th seed beat a 5th seed, we actually saw it twice. In last year's tournament, we saw number 12 seed James Madison defeated the 5th seed Wisconsin. And then we saw 12th seed Grand Canyon beating St. Mary's. So 2 12-5 upsets last year. But yeah, 55 wins and 101 losses, I do believe. But it happens more often than people might think. And, I'm looking at this bracket now. And you know what, to be honest, UC San Diego might beat Michigan. And I know, wait a minute, you're a Michigan fan. Hey, you got to be realistic here. I gave you the stats. I gave you what they did during the season. I gave you the stats for Michigan as well. It doesn't matter. But UC San Diego is a 12 seed against Michigan. And then Michigan, as I mentioned earlier, 2.5-point favorites. That's it against this UC San Diego Tritons team. Yeah. So that's a game where UC San Diego could beat Michigan, another 12 seed beating a 5th seed. Colorado State, in the West region, beating Memphis, 12-5 there. McNeese, who the hell is McNeese, right? Could beat Clemson, 12-5 there. 12 seed McNeese going up against a 5th seed Clemson on the Midwest region. And then in the East region, let's see here, you got Liberty and Oregon. Liberty might beat Oregon. I can definitely see that happening in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So it's possible. But yeah, 55 wins for the 12 seeds over 5th seeds. And the last time we saw it last year twice, as I mentioned, James Madison being Wisconsin and Grand Canyon being St. Mary's. So let's go. The madness is almost here. Let's get it rolling. It's going to be awesome. Tomorrow's game, Louisville versus Creighton, 12:15 on CBS. So you got CBS, TNT, True TV, and TBS. Those are your broadcasting partners for this entire March Madness tournament. And then it all ends. It all culminates to the championship game Monday, April 7th. National championship game in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. 8:50 p.m. on CBS. It's so damn late, man. I mean, these national championship games, not just for college basketball, but for college football. Put it on a Friday night or a Saturday night. Why are we having championship games for college football and college basketball on a Monday night so late? 8:50 p.m. on CBS. I'm not trying to sound like an old man here, but come on, dude. A Saturday night, dude, bars would be packed. You know, bars would be making so much money if these championship games were on the weekend. Friday, Saturday nights, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever. Pack the bars. Everyone's having a good time. No, let's have it on Monday, beginning of the week, 8:50 p.m., almost 9 o'clock on CBS. Well, obviously the broadcasting partner doesn't really matter, but just the days of these championship games. I mean, crazy, dude. I mean, they got to change that. But yeah, championship game Monday, April 7th. We'll see who goes there. Like I said, my pick is the Duke Blue Devils. They are the team to beat, but they could get beaten in the first round by either right there, American University or Mount St. Mary's. Whoever wins that game plays Duke. They might beat Duke. It might happen. It probably won't because Duke is phenomenal this season. And like I said, I think they're going to win the national championship. But anything can happen. Like I said, fill out your brackets. I got mine here. And forgot, I got another one here. So I fill out 2 for fun. Get your brackets ready. The madness begins tomorrow. It's going to be awesome, guys. So March Madness, we got that all out of the way. And now we got to end today's episode with a quick announcement. In the boxing world, we got to talk about boxing for a little bit. As many of you remember, a couple weeks ago, I had my first ever interview for Kai's Time with my man, Kamel Macklin. Pro boxer. He's 1-0 in his pro career. 2-time Golden Gloves champion in the amateur ranks. Now he's a pro. He's going after that heavyweight title. He's going to do absolutely fantastic. He's going to, like I said it before and I say it again. He's going to do wonderful things for the sport of boxing. I can see it, just how he carries himself as a human being. He trains his ass off. His sparring sessions are legit. This guy, he's in fantastic shape, but he's also a great human being. I'm glad he's a part of my life. But he has a second pro fight coming up. Friday, April 18th. His second pro fight. Good Friday. Yeah, Good Friday, a couple days before Easter, right? Well, for his opponent, it's going to be a bad Friday because this man's going to go 2-0. I can just see it happening right now. And I know I don't want to hype him up too much. I'm sure he's going to appreciate it, but I've seen him box numerous times. I see what he does. This guy is a menace, man. He is the real deal. So, yeah, Friday, April 18th, Kamel Macklin's second pro fight. It's on Good Friday. Get your asses there. It's in Dearborn, Michigan. 23302 West Warren Avenue at Hype Athletics Recreational Center. The Brides is going to be there, so you better get your ass there. His last fight was on December 12th, 2024. His first professional fight in his career at the Dordt Financial Center in Flint, Michigan. So not only are we going to go to Flint, we're going to go to Dearborn this time. What's next? Maybe Detroit? Maybe Grand Rapids? Who knows? I mean, maybe somewhere else. I mean, there's another professional fighter for coming out of New Wave Training Center, Savannah Tini. She's competing in Tennessee, in Nashville, Tennessee, in a couple weeks. So he might go to a different state in the next fight. But this fight, his second fight, is going to be Dearborn, Michigan, Friday, April 18th. Fight start at 7 o'clock. Get your tickets. Reach out to him. If you guys remember from the interview a couple weeks ago, his social handles, his social media handles, it's his last name, so Makled, Macklin, and his first name, Kamel, Kahmel. So he's on Instagram, he's on TikTok, he's on Facebook. Follow him on Facebook. He's been advertising that fight for a couple weeks now. So get tickets from him, reach out to him, get ticket information. But let's get some bodies at his second fight. Dearborn, Michigan, that Hype Athletics Recreational Center. I want to see a lot of people there. But you already know the prize is going to be there as well. So yeah, Kamel Maklid, second fight. Good Friday, April 18th, Dearborn, Michigan, Hype Athletics Center. Get your asses there. So congrats to him. He's going to do well. 2-0, baby. I can't wait. So with that being said, we are done with this podcast. Yeah, over an hour today. I know. We had to talk a lot about March Madness. I mean, come on, dude. It's right around the corner. Tomorrow, 24 hours away from March Madness. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Fill out your brackets for fun, or if you're doing it for money, good luck to you. I know my cousin's doing a pool, and I think one of my brother's friend is doing one. I'm doing it for fun. I've been doing this for over 10 years, and I never won one. And, it's just wasting money at this point. But I'm curious how my brackets turn out. Hell, I might do a third one just for the heck of it. Maybe do some 12-5, 12 seeds beating the 5th seeds. Because historically, as I mentioned, they have 55 wins in that situation. So might fill out another one, but you guys fill one out. But March Madness is right around the corner. So thank you for joining me. I know it was a lot, but we had fun with it. So as always, you guys already know the drill. The audio version of this episode is going to be available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. It's going to be available. YouTube, the video version of this episode today is going to be available on my YouTube channel at Guys Time to Bribe. Subscribe right now. That'll be up in a couple hours here. Once I make my edits and everything. You already know the drill. But yeah, March Madness starts tomorrow, and then Kamel Maklid, his second pro fight, Friday, April 18th. Good Friday, Dearborn, Michigan, Hype Athletics Recreational Center. Get your asses there. Reach out to him on social media. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Follow him. Reach out to him. Get your tickets. This guy is amazing. Fights for that card starts at 7 o'clock. So get your asses there. It's going to be awesome. So thank you for joining me again. Ladies and gentlemen, you are awesome as always. Thank you for the support. You guys have a great rest of your day. And March Madness around the corner, man. The madness is almost here. Take care, guys. Have a good one.